I think I was recently reading a book. I don't know how many of you have read. It's an old book by Nicholas Taleb called Black Swan. So, if people have, I'll describe a Black Swan event. A Black Swan event is an event which is unpredictable. It's rare, and it changes the face of the world. And the point is that people don't understand that in their individual or a collective capacity that something subliminal is happening and it is going to change a world. So I'll give you an example. Let's look at a scenario where you're feeding a chicken very well for a month or 2 or 3 to ensure that the chicken gives you a very good quality egg. At the end of the 3 months, the chicken would start perhaps thinking as an individual that a human being is made to feed me good and ensure that that human being treats me well. Suddenly at the end of the 3rd month, it realizes that no, the human being was feeding it because it had to cut that chicken and eat it as a piece of meat. Now that event for the chicken was a black swan, which is unimaginable by the chicken at that point in time. It is rare, and when it happens, it changes the history. For me individually, mobile is that change. We may present data, we may not present data, we may have data, we may not have data, but the fact would remain that mobile has, and the use of mobile has been the black swan in the industry, and it will continue to be so. At the end of 20-25 odd slides, some of them I will rush through. I want you guys to take 4 key points from this. It doesn't matter whether you are on mobile or digital or any medium. Needs have always remained the same. They have always been basic and they have remained the same throughout the history of the world. Specifically to mobile, I think per capita consumption in India specifically is abysmally low. That needs to improve for us to take it further. Life will emerge out of shadows of entertainment. And mind you, sustainable mobile inclusion is the key. I'll elaborate that. So as I mentioned, needs have always been the same. It used to be a lot easier. Perhaps you woke up in those days with an alarm clock next to you. Sometimes maybe a radio to on it automatically. Today it's changed, it's more a mobile. You ate breakfast with the radio on or in front of the TV? You hardly do that anymore, I suppose. You got it dressed with the radio on or in front of TV. It doesn't happen anymore. You either read a magazine or a newspaper, maybe just one, that's what you could afford. On the way to work and on the way back home, you saw ads. Billboards was very popular. Today they are there, but you don't even observe it subliminally. It used to be easier. Dinners were together, watched, sat together, had together, prayed together, collective family time. Moved on from here. But things aren't there what they used to be with the evolution of digital natives. I have a 13-year-old daughter. She is faster, quicker, better than my 70-year-old dad, who just fiddles with his phone or with his laptop. But my daughter is completely a geeky person. She knows, plays, understands, be it Apple or Windows system very, very well. If you look at a pre-internet era of 80s, then it was mostly a music-driving youth behavior, the hippie movement or all the Indian movies that you saw across in those days. 90s was a period when the first digital native which came in, who said that, can I observe something on an internet? 2000 is the time when internet came in and said, not only am I consuming, but I'm also commenting, giving it back on the internet. And at each stage of this evolution of the industry, mind you, behaviors were being changed. They were having a social impact. They were having a behavioral impact. The point is, it is so subliminal that we don't even tend to observe it. We just don't observe it. So as I said, needs were always the same. Let's look at what the core needs were. You always wanted to make friends. You wanted to find a partner. You wanted to play and entertain yourself. You wanted to consume music. You wanted to learn. You wanted to think about your future. So have they changed? In my knowledge and in my readings, in the last known history of 5,000 years of mankind, they have remained the same. They have not changed. What has changed is their manifestation. The way they bring it back to you, the way they represent themselves, the way they throw themselves to you. How do you make friends now? If earlier was the famous college katta, or playing at sport or at home or during a holiday, today it's browsing a Facebook, playing online, downloading content, participating in communities. Is this a behavioral change, a social change? In my view, yes. Do you have a data to present it? Hundreds? Is it relevant? In my view, no. It just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter what the data proves. The point is, you don't find friends on playgrounds these days. You find them on Facebook. That's the reality. Do you find true love? I don't know how many of the grey-haired people here even knew that something like Desi Martini or Shadi.com existed 20 years ago. But marriage as a need was there, and it's there today too. Getting close to your friend. When I was a child, I used to say, I'm going to a friend's home, I'm calling him, I'm meeting him. Today I'm calling, I'm poking him, I'm bugging him, I'm hugging him virtually. So it's terminology and the context and the manifestation of the same need is changing across. Playing and entertaining. If you did your cardio by going in the play field, today you do your cardio by playing on a PlayStation. Virtually. Enjoying music. If you went to physical or real estate, today it's all about virtual guitars and virtual dance competitions if you see it. Gathering information. I mean, I'm a book fan. When I came to know that British Encyclopedia is getting out of print and there are last 1,000 copies of them left in the world, I rushed to Flipkart on the given first opportunity, and I made the hell out of right up to reaching to the Bansals and saying, dude, I don't know how you do it. I want one copy of the encyclopedia. I bought one. I spent something like $1,100 in buying one encyclopedia. My daughter was looking at all my efforts in awe and saying, I mean, what a stupid dad I have. He's spending $1,100 for a book which would be hard to keep and which all the information is available on the net and the mobile phone there. But people who are traditional from a need of knowing perspective, perhaps today know Wikipedias and the likes. I don't know how many of us last went to a library. I mean, if I can have a show of hand. Did anyone visit a library in the last year? In a room of 50, 7, 8. But and how many of you have visited a Wikipedia or a Google for information? Almost everyone. Thinking about the future. If it was college then, today it's LinkedIn or things that you do of Indian Idols and iSuperstars with some digital properties like work relationship. If it was references, today is LinkedIn. Mobile content. And mobile, which in general causes a social or behavioral change, I have no answer. Time will tell. I leave you with my first point that needs have always been the same. Don't mistake that. They would always remain the same and they would continue to remain the same. Let me try and give a context to the second. If you look at India today, there are burning numbers. If you look at telecommunication as a field and if you look at internet as a field, really burning numbers. Airtel declared 13 consecutive drop in profits, 13 consecutive quarter drop in profits. Regulatory issues, huge spends on 3G. VCs are not investing in any of the internet companies these days. Funding is difficult. People are waiting with 2 potential IPOs expected in next year. One from Canaan Partners and one from Just Dial from Sequoia. If that happens, people think that the internet will get a fill-up back. Even if you look at the telecommunication industry in India today, empowering the consumer is the biggest point. Regulatory frameworks are beating the hell out of all the ecosystem players. TRAI is coming heavily on operators and intermediate players to ensure that they follow ethical and trustworthy practices. Is it the end of an operator dominance? Well, it's a much spoken word, but if you look at a behavioral and a social change in the global GSMA, WhatsApp is awarded world's biggest innovation by an operator community? Is it a tacit understanding and an approval of a point that what was a 3 rupee or a 2 rupee SMS which was sent to communicate between two people today will be taken over by something called as a WhatsApp, which is almost free if you are a right data plan? Are the on-deck players, are the off-deck players like the Facebooks and the Twitter choking the pipe and the bandwidth of an operator? I don't know if it's an end of an operator dominance. In certain markets, I see it. In certain markets, I don't see it. So it's a very market-specific reality. What is the surprise? Specifically in India, mobile internet. Let's look at certain other trends. Communication and discovery. Are you discovering enough? Let us assume I have a beautiful program for a telecommunication operator about women empowerment or communicable disease information dissemination. How am I able to discover that is a problem? This industry is of an impulse purchase. People tend to consume this on an impulse purchase basis. Consumer experience is still a problem across plethora of services that are being offered by everyone. Is it trustworthy or no? People are still having a question about it. When you look at mobile internet, personally think that smartphones and a full mobile internet is a trend in the next 24 to 36 months. These trends will eventually cause a change in the social and behavioral aspect. How you're able to cause a change in an information to ensure that an always on connected device in the hand of a consumer in a form of an internet is available is what we need to perhaps collectively think through. So what are the engines of growth that we see across emerging? And this is not only India, this is whole of emerging world. Maybe developed world is a bit treated differently. But if you look at it, 3 core pillars: digital goods, marketing and payments. If you look at, about 7 years ago I had said that the basic change in the industry will happen if and when 3 things grow. One is per capita consumption of internet. Second is per capita consumption of content. And third is per capita consumption of commerce. From India perspective, I have seen the first in my lifetime. If you look at the last 12 to 24 months of near history, you would observe that the growth rate on mobile internet penetration, adoption, consumption is growing at a 5-fold rate. Have I seen it in content and commerce? No, it's very nascent. And I believe that in coming 24 to 36 months, this will take off. Comes my third point. What is changing in the digital goods is traditional SMS and voice is being taken over by apps. That's a fundamental change which is happening across. What was earlier in the telecommunication space a telecom operator build scenario is slowly and nascently evolving to app store and non-operator charging. I think that's the 2 fundamental shifts that are happening. In the traditional environment, if the goods were sold in the form of product genres of games or text or interactive voices or music some way, today it is completely genre based. It's entertainment, it's education, it's health and enterprise, and so on and so forth. So if it were of various bearers earlier of SMS, voice and internet, today it is more on the genre. And this is, as we speak, happening. If you look at any telecommunication operator today or any internet industry, any internet industry company, you would observe that their departments are not structured on technology, they are structured on genres. Be it Airtel, be it Vodafone, be it Idea, any one of them. Let me talk specifically of 2 points which Osama and I had discussed. If you look at health, we have seen case studies, and it was with intention that I did not present case studies with numbers. I just presented bullet points because I think numbers would just articulate a point which would as well be done by a bullet. So that I don't see too much of a difference around it. But the point is, treatment of tuberculosis, which typically is a long drawn continuous treatment, if done with the help of a mobile phone, people have seen sustained improvements of the way the lower segment of the society follows the instruction of a Anganwadi or a health worker and so on and so forth. right? So it has clearly seen that a telephony or a mobile has caused a behavioral change in that lower strata of the society. I have seen in Africa phones to identify counterfeit drugs. You have a barcode. The moment you see a strip of a medicine, you take a picture of the barcode, match it with the database. If it is real from a relevant authorized manufacturer, right barcode information will flow. Otherwise, they will treat it as wrong. Doctor on call, remote expertise of delivery. All these things perhaps will have a further boost up as and when the 3G would come in across. Learn English. I don't know how many of you have studied BBC Janala in Bangladesh. It's a hugely successful program run by BBC to teach people English. We are running programs in Tanzania. We are running programs in Afghanistan on Learn English, and we have seen successful uptakes on most of these lessons, and people spending lots of minutes of usage on and as and when they consume it across. Can you imagine if you have a $20 smartphone, which is about 1,000 rupees, which is internet enabled and in the hand of a child? You don't need to cause any further social or a behavioral change. The child will do everything on his own self. It's all about self-discovery. I don't know how many of us, so this is really something which is very tricky. I don't know how many of you has ever watched, ever studied a mobile phone by looking at a user manual. In 20 years, I'm having a mobile phone since 1998. In the last 15 years, I have never even once looked at a manual. Never. It's all self-discovery. But ton loads of paper is wasted every year. Manufacturer putting a smart book in the handset case. Same is the case. Imagine a child with a $20 handset, smart, enabled with internet, and the world is there for him to explore. So if you look at it, I have spoken on the three, which is needs have always been the same. Per capita consumption growth in internet, commerce and content is must for us to change. Life will emerge beyond the shadows of entertainment. And the last point. I don't believe in grants. Personally, I don't believe in grants. I believe that as an industry, we need to cause and create sustainable mobile inclusion. Be it individuals, be it corporates, be it government, money supply is defined. It is almost as much there. So unless we create platforms, environments and products and solutions which are able to generate small or big, at least breaking even the cost to sustain that, you will not cause a social or a behavioral change. So sustainable mobile inclusion, in my view, is the key. Thank you very much.